Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Matias versus Paro fight. And so if you're new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So going into this fight, Matias is 20-1 with 20 KOs and Paro is 24-0 with 15 KOs. This fight is for the IBF World Super Lightweight title. Matias' last fight was a win via stoppage in round 6 versus Ergashev, and Paro's last fight was a win via KO in round 7 versus Love. Paro is a southpaw. This is Matias' first fight with Matchroom being signed to them. Matias' loss came via unanimous decision versus Anyan in 2020, and this is in Matias' home country of Puerto Rico. And to speak a bit more about what I've just been saying, like I've mentioned, this for that IBF title on which Matias holds. It's a title, since Matias has held it, he's been seen as somebody who is being ducked and somebody who nobody really wants to fight, and so I suppose I give full credit to Paro for wanting to and being willing to take the opportunity, and for him it's a huge opportunity, and so I don't really blame him. But to be fair, Paro is deserving of a world title shot. I mean, he's been progressing nicely. I mean, coming off that very impressive stoppage win versus Jarvis to then go on to fight Love in his hometown and to go up against him and be the away fighter and to put on another very good performance as well against the odds to an extent. It's deserving of this shot. And Matias obviously signing with Matchroom, he's going to be wanting to fight more and wanting to have the best possible fights and to fight other world champions. But for the moment, it's a good fight, this one. I think it definitely has the makings to be that of a good fight. I mean, they're both coming off early stoppages. Obviously, Matias is known for these impressive stoppages and just really breaking you down and wearing you down. But I'm going to speak more about that in just a moment. But either way, he's coming off a performance where perhaps at the start of the fight he was getting caught with shots a little bit. There was that space created by Ergashev which was punishing Matias to an extent, but in the end he was just too much, like he has been for every other one of his opponents, well, bar Anyan in the first fight, and it was just, too much and just really wore you down and break you down as he always does. And I suppose the fact of this being, first Matchroom show in Puerto Rico as well, he's going to have that pressure on him, but I feel like he's somebody who just doesn't really seem to care about that. When I've seen him fight, he looks so focused, so dialed, just so locked in, and the fact that he really doesn't respect any of his opponents, I just don't see the home pressure being a problem for him at all, bar, unlike what it's like for a lot of fighters. And so it just shows that animal type dangerous mindset that he definitely does have. And I'm sure Paro also has that as well. He's the one coming in with that undefeated record. He doesn't know how to lose. He's going to be wanting to come in there and defeat the odds again and really put on a statement. And if he wins this one, that's a huge win for him. I mean, Matias is being talked about fighting the likes of Teofimo Lopez, and so if Paro goes through and wins this one, this puts him, he's a world champion, and it also puts him in contention to fight some huge names. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously the super lightweight division is doing very well at the moment, and so we'll have to wait and see what options become available. But for the moment, for this fight, to speak about them both as fighters, Matias, of course, he's known for that power and just that ability to be able to just completely break you down and destroy you. But just the short punches that he does it in as well, the little amounts of space that he needs to be able to do his work is just really impressive. You've seen it, I've seen it a couple of times with fighters where they do have this insane level of power where they really don't need to cock up their shots or like wind them up at all, really. They can just create power from nothing pretty much, and it seems like that's what Matias can do. Even shots where they don't really look too punishing, they are doing damage. But to be fair, Paro's one where he first caught Love with, it was a very nicely timed shot, but it didn't really look too powerful. But Love, it dropped Love quite dramatically, and so perhaps he has maybe not the same level of power, but that power is also there as well, and maybe to an extent it's just catching fighters when they're not expecting it. But with Matias's relentless power, the fact he's going to throw to every part of the body, that's what I mean when I say he's breaking you down, and he's just very difficult to deal with. The fact that he can just get in range so easily with accurate combinations as well, and the fact that, like I say, he varies his power, it's just a very impressive offense. He does very good body work. he walks you down, breaks you down, he doesn't respect you, he doesn't give you any space, and to be fair, I feel like Paro is somebody who works best when he does have space, so it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with somebody who really isn't going to want to give you space at all. He's very composed as well, Matias, but so is Paro as well. Paro has that controlled, composed type mindset throughout the majority of the time that I've seen him. He responds to pretty much every shot, Matias, that he receives, and there's been fights where combinations he's been caught with and then he's just responded back with his own that are just 10 times more powerful, and so he is always going to respond, and he discourages opponents in the process as well, because opponents give everything they have and use all their power, but then it's just too much, it's still not enough, I mean. And Matias's chin, which is just really, really impressive as well, is just able to take it all like it's nothing and just keep coming forward. And I suppose negative wise, it's the clear defensive problems that he does have. Obviously, if he can go up against somebody who is able to keep the distance really well, then perhaps defensive wise he could have problems, and yeah, it has been seen to struggle perhaps a little bit when there is a distance there, but it's just nobody's seeming to be able to create that distance against him and, like I say, discourage him from coming forwards. And he stands upright, he has a bit of a lack of a jab, he walks onto shots, so he's definitely there to be hit. And perhaps Paro, who does move relatively well, is going to be able to pick off some shots, especially early on, but I just don't necessarily know if he has that level of power to discourage Matias from coming forwards. And Matias is very good at cutting off the ring when he wants to as well, and so if he can do that, I don't necessarily know how well Paro will be able to get out of it, and I don't know if he's going to be willing to trade or not. And Matias doesn't really make adjustments, so if Paro can find some sort of formula that's working for him, Paro makes very good adjustments. We saw that in the Love fight. He was working off the jab very nicely and pairing shots together and seeing Love was going off to the right and then being able to work off that and see that as openings. And so if he can find that game plan, and he is very smart, Paro, perhaps he can find shots that open up and are there to catch Matias with. He's a slower out of the two, Matias. He can have a low guard at times, and that's necessarily where he lost in that first Anion fight, because he just did keep his hands very low. Since then, he has improved and has been bringing them up higher and been sapping shots from having that higher guard. But in general, he does have a low guard at times, and it can be perhaps a little bit weak at points. He can be frustrated. I think I've seen times where he's let his possible anger get to him a little bit, and he's knocked you down and then try to go for extra swings when you're down, and so he could be frustrated, and Paro possibly could be somebody to do that. He stands straight on, and like I say, yeah, he's definitely there to be hit. But to speak about Paro as a fighter, I think he has that deceptive level of power, and I don't think Matias is going to respect his power, but it could come against him if he does that. I think, like I say, he has that deceptive level of power where he really invites you in, has that accuracy, that timing, and then compact shots where he can find little gaps, and then he can catch you with that. And if he's doing that, then it's going to hurt. And he doesn't necessarily throw loads of power punches, but the ones he does throw, they are impressive, and they are, he has shown that he can hurt with them. He's faster, he's got a high guard, he moves relatively well, he's quite a neat, tidy boxer majority of the time, he's got a nice consistent jab, it's fast, it's not really doing too much, but it's consistent and it's not necessarily always kind of out there point scoring. He's typically a mid-range type fighter at the best of times, and like I say, he partners up, triples up that jab a lot of the time. Front/back foot, he can fight on either and does have a solid level of counters. When he sits down on his shots, that's where he does a lot of his best work, and that's when, like I say, he can use that deceptive level of power. I suppose the fact that he isn't always throwing power punches and the fact that he isn't always sitting down on his shots, it means when he actually does, that's when he can catch opponents off guard. He doesn't back down either. He's very much up for a challenge and up for any sort of pressure that you're going to bring, and so that's something which you do really need against Matias, but perhaps that could also draw you into a little bit of a fight or a brawl type fight with him. Negatives about him: I feel like sometimes he can wait a bit too long to let his big shots go, and he didn't really, like I say, necessarily throw too many big shots against Love, and Love's a difficult person to fight against when he can tie up a lot and things like that, but perhaps, yeah, he could be a little bit hesitant at times. He does back up in straight lines, and so if he's doing that, then I feel like Matias might be able to get him in a corner and see that he's doing that. He finding his range sometimes could be a little bit of a problem, and if he has that hesitancy, he might be even more reluctant to try and find his range. He is a slow starter. His head can be on the line a bit at times. I feel like his physical in close work isn't necessarily great, and like I say, if Matias can get in range, he's going to be physical and he is going to be wanting to be, like I say, in close. He can be a little bit predictable at times. I feel like sometimes you can see that he's going to partner up that jab and go for the straight shot afterwards, but it's a little bit predictable at points, but it's not. It's just, I think Matias is just so varied in his attacks. It's difficult to not seem predictable when you're going up against him. He doesn't really cut off the ring relatively as well, Paro. I think he definitely could have done that sooner against Love, but was just following him around at points. He hasn't really fought anybody like Matias and has to gain respect, but I don't really think there's too many fighters like Matias, and it is difficult to fight somebody like that, so it's going to be interesting to see, like I say, if he can gain any sort of level of respect, or if he's even going to try, or if he's just going to be on the back foot the whole time. Matias is the favourite. I think that Matias is going to win via TKO in round 7. I could see, similar to that of the Ergashev fight, Paro having success in the early rounds, doubling up, tripling up that jab, and then landing at times and being able to catch Matias whilst he's coming in, and probably is going to be on the back foot. But like I say, when you see Matias cutting off the ring, really being able to impose himself, getting close, if he can stop that distance being made like he has been able to do in every single other one of his fights, I think Paro would struggle, and then perhaps we might even see more of a jab coming from Matias and him actually setting up his shots a little bit better. And if he does that as well, then that could be even better for him. And in the end, like I say, I think Matias will be able to win stoppage again. Wouldn't surprise me if it's a corner stoppage, or it could be another TKO win, and another just destructive performance going into the perhaps later side of the fight where he is just breaking you down too much. Then we could go on to fight. I mean, there's been talks to him, like I said, fighting Lopez. That is going to be a huge fight probably after the Paro fight. So of course, like I say, he's joined Matchroom for the want of having big fights, but obviously Lopez doesn't fight for Matchroom, but the Top Rank have a good relationship with Matchroom to an extent, and so yeah, I wouldn't surprise me if we see the Lopez one next. If not, other options, I think Catterall could be an option. It wouldn't surprise me if Catterall versus Matias. I think Eddie would probably want that. Not necessarily sure if Matias would want that, but I'm sure he would take it if no other options were available. Or Haney. Haney's, he's been rumoured to fight Sandor Martin, and I think been ordered. Well, he has been ordered to fight Sandor Martin, but you never know. That ordering could be looked over if the Matias fight is available to him, and also being with Matchroom as well. You never really know. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you didn't. Like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.